The Avengers! Yet another team in Marvel Rivals. As if the first one didn't take long enough, I'm surprised I waited this long to make them. They're arguably Marvel's most recognizable popular team, only rivaled by the X-Men. I'll leave that up for you to decide, to be honest. I think it's probably the X-Men, but I can see arguments made for both. I will say X-Men #1, published in 1991, is the most single-issue comic ever, but this video isn't about them. Starting off on the body, Captain America is a vanguard, so I get to make a bigger body, which is fun. Standing in game at a strong 6'7", just 2 inches shorter than Thor, but an inch taller than Doctor Strange. Considering the size of this guy, I'm afraid what my Hulk might look like. Hulk's a whole foot taller. At this point, I'm just going to completely run out of space to put these guys. I made Cap back in June of 2025, mainly because I was lording him at the time. If I'm being honest, I don't know why I did that. At the time of editing this, in March of 2026, almost April, I still haven't lorded another tank. Almost a full year. I guess it's just not my role. I don't even have any tanks at Centurion. That's how bad it is. Even after I lorded Cap, I never played him anymore after Season 4. I basically just put him down. Kind of like the game has. I'd come back for the occasional game, like when he got his Battle Pass skin. I really like his Battle Pass skin. Something I do that I've mentioned in other sewing videos is I try to make the character before I lord them. I don't really have that problem now because at the time of this being uploaded, I've made everybody in the game. I finally accomplished my goal. I just haven't uploaded all of them yet. You'll see them eventually. But till then, you're just gonna be stuck with this only 9 character video. 9 characters out of all the characters in the game in one video. Poor you, right? I'm just being mean. However, I do plan on uploading this video, like, right when I finish the characters. So, you know, if I start editing in March and this is uploaded a while later, you'll be able to see how long this took. 9 characters. Now the body is finished. Here's him alongside Spider-Man, and here's him alongside Emma. Around this time, they were the only characters from the game I'd made, besides, like, Jeff. So, that's why I put them here. It's kind of pointless now. For the base of the suit, it's really easy. I'd say it's also a pretty unconventional design, though, for Captain America. Gray is a very interesting choice to make a Captain America costume. A World War II hero in a blue and gray glowing costume. Don't worry, I know it's because the game's lore, Cap is from 2099, but I don't have to like his costume because of that. It's like when something is trash, people say, "Oh, but it's like that in the comics." Okay. And it's buns in the comics too. I remember when the game had come out and I'd seen Cap for the first time, and I gotta say, I really didn't like it. I thought it sucked. It's a shame, because I also do really like Captain America. I think I'd say of all the original designs for the characters added in the base game, I would say that Captain America is one of the worst of them, or just the weakest. That is to say, once I actually started playing the game a few months after release, that Cap started to look a little better. Started to grow on me. I still never wear it, but that's because why would I when I have this first appearance costume? Like, I would still say even now, after the suit has grown on me, I still think it is kind of buns, but I still like it. Like, I think it's fine now. It doesn't bother me. I wouldn't have made it if I really hated it. The fact they put that in the Battle Pass is a crime, though. I feel such a sorrow for the people who couldn't get it. Since release, to be honest, Cap's been getting pretty good skins. Like the Year 1 skin, his Berserk skin, and I know how hypocritical it sounds, the Galactic Talon. There's also Captain Clintar and Capwolf. To be honest, the Capwolf skin is kind of mid. Like, it's just the Year 1 suit, but with, like, wolf added bits on it. Like, it's kind of lazy. I also don't really like the Captain Gladiator skin or the Star Spangled style. The Infinity War skin is also just kind of whatever. At least to me. Like, I know there's a lot of people who do really like it. I just think there's better MCU designs that they could have gone for instead of this. But to be honest, looking at it and seeing it in game, and even comparing and contrasting it to other Captain America designs, I get why they went with this. Like, of all the Cap designs, it's the most out there, and it could fit in the game without being too similar to other skins. I also just think it works for the body type. Even though obviously Chris Hemsworth doesn't change at all in the MCU, besides the first movie when he's skinny and then he's not. Like, I feel like that look suits this game the most. But I would have liked to see the first Avengers suit. It's my favorite Cap suit that they've had in the MCU. They nailed it in the beginning, and then it just was still pretty good, to be honest. Like, I love the Winter Soldier suit. I made Captain America, MCU Captain America, a little while back, and I was so conflicted for so long on, like, what costume to make him, that I ended up waiting, like, 2 months to do it, because I just couldn't decide. It came down to the first Avenger and Winter Soldier, and I went with the first Avenger. I was so close to going Winter Soldier, but I went first Avenger. And to be honest, it turned out really nice. This guy is also turning out really nice to gear attention towards what I'm doing right now. Something really nice, too, about him is, I kind of glossed past it, but his legs were so easy to make. Like, literally just detail the boots. And the details on the boots weren't even that hard. I've really noticed while making Rivals characters, something that deters me and makes me take a little longer is I spend forever making the legs, because I'm just bored making them. I enjoy everything else. I get bored making legs. As soon as I get past the legs, the process just, like, flies by. I wish I had realized it sooner than, like, when I had 5 characters left to make from the game, but at least I didn't dwell on Captain America when I was making him. In general, Cap's level of detail isn't really that complicated. Like, even the arms were pretty easy. Detailing the torso right now, while maybe appearing like a lot, really isn't. Like, there's a lot of detail on the armor, yeah, but it's not very complicated. Not something like constructing my absolute Batman shoulder pads, a video you also could watch because I love him and he deserves more attention. Adding the final couple details, I'm done with the armor. Now, I just need to make the belt. The belt is a little weird. Like, it's not a full belt, it's segmented into 4 pieces that barely really even go around his waist. I'd say it even looks a little stupid, but all it really needs is paint. Speaking of looking a little stupid, my Cap body. I love how huge the torso looks in comparison to the arms and legs. This is, of course, by design because of the muscles I added to the chest and back. Still a little goofy though. For Cap's helmet, it's not very complicated in itself. In fact, I make it a little similar to my Bullseye mask if you've seen my Daredevil Born Again Season 2 video. The only different thing I add is the domino mask and chin strap as opposed to the mouth covering. A couple of months after I made him, I actually had to replace his chin strap because it stretched out and broke. Same with his domino mask. My dad went to pick him up and put his finger through his eye, ripping the felt, so to be fair, it was pretty thin cut. When doing the paint and Sharpie details, I actually really like the subtle purple that I was able to add throughout the suit. I think it actually turned out really nice. Same with the cutout for the A and the little gray details I add on the white parts. The gray marker was especially useful when I was making my Fantastic Four. Now, of course, even though I typically don't make the weapons for these characters because I don't like how it turns out or I just find it boring to do, I'll do it here! Plus, I mean, I clearly have been moving more towards the direction of making weapons anyway, considering I made Deadpool's weapons for Season 6. And I don't know what I've done in between that because it's Season 7 right now and I haven't even made Black Cat. At least it's Season 7 when I'm recording this. You know, this isn't even the first time I've made a Captain America shield for a video on this channel. I did it back for my Captain America Brave New World video last year. To be fair, if I can make that one, then I don't really have any excuse not to do this one. It's not even like it's any more difficult than that one, it's just a lot more paint. At first I didn't really like how the shield looked in-game, just like everything else about Cap in this game, I guess. But I've really come around on it. I like the little energy ring it seems to generate when he holds it up in-game. I actually wanted to do that effect on my shield by more likely than not buying a translucent blue plastic sheet and gluing it onto the shield. Obviously I didn't end up doing that because I knew it would probably look stupid, but just know that the thought was there. And then the thought is what counts. And that's it for Captain America. He's all finished. Look at him. Isn't he grand? I do like how if you look right behind him, you can see that I finished him way back in Season 3. Specifically 3, not even 3.5. Either that or I had just updated the game to 3.5. I'm pretty sure it was 3, because I made him in July. I start with Iron Man's body. In this game, he's 6'4", which in my opinion is taller than Iron Man really needs to be. I like the idea more that he's like 5'10", 5'8", maybe. Of course, the armor makes him taller, so I guess that's what's going on here. He's also super jacked in-game, like more jacked than I'd expect. To be fair, Tony's always been jacked in the comics. I think I'm just more used to Robert Downey Jr. being a little smaller than in the comics. Even then, I say smaller, and he was clearly still somewhat muscular, or like just straight up built in those movies. I think social media has just broken my mind on what being in good shape actually looks like. Nah, who am I kidding? I need to look like a wrestler in their prime, or at least have sculpted abs. It's the bare minimum. When I made Iron Man, it was around season 3.5, maybe beginning of season 4, and in that season they added the Extreme Biote armor, which had his full face on display. So, using that in a gallery card, I was able to get pretty much all of the reference that I needed to make Tony's head. Plus, to be fair, it's not like it's that important. He is just going to be wearing a helmet the whole time. I also decided to give him his little arc reactor in his chest. I just thought that'd be cute. For the armor, originally I'd filmed this part of the video to somewhat make it look like the first movie when he was suiting up and it was like being built around him. Then I was planning to put the movie sound effects over it and maybe play some like Black Sabbath or Led Zeppelin, you know, like an Iron Man kind of band. However, last time I tried to play that in an Iron Man video, it not only got copywritten, but it was also region blocked. So, you know I'm not doing that. I can't risk foreign viewers not seeing this video, come on. My channel is all-inclusive. Unless you're British. Or like Burger King. Those are my prejudices. Unfortunately for me though, I had filmed the whole video to be edited in this way, so... whatever. And I can't go back and refilm it, and I'd have to make a whole other Iron Man. At least it made the edit a lot more streamlined. Besides the body, I guess. Usually in these videos, the average Rivals character specifically ends up being anywhere around 28 minutes to 50. Strange enough, I don't think anybody in this video required 50 minutes of footage. Thor was really close though, I think he was like 48. It is actually pretty funny that definitively one of, if not the most detailed character that I had to make from this game, results in like 4 minutes. Captain America was easy. I was saying Captain America was easy. That was almost 9 minutes. This? Nah, whatever. 4 minutes. Not even 5. Like that's... are we serious? I'm pretty sure White Fox was longer than this, and that is the easiest character I've made from the game. You know, I guess it's not all bad to have a 4-minute character in the video. It's already going to take long enough. Couldn't hurt to get a shorter one in once in a while. I think Black Widow will be a shorter one too. There's only 25 minutes of footage there. Unless it's all time lapses. There's only 15 minutes of footage for Iron Man. Oh, Hulk could be shorter. Hulk's got nearly 30 minutes, but I mean, come on. A lot is probably going to be cut. Something I realized with Iron Man that I'd really realized way too late was the color of red that I chose to use. Like, I think I do a really good job on everything else given what I'm doing. However, the red felt I chose was just way too bright and not really the same as the one in game. Which is a huge disappointment because I think with the proper colors, this could have been 10 times better. I did the same thing a couple years back when I made my MCU Iron Man. I used the same red that I am here for the endgame suit. I plan on remaking MCU Iron Man at some point, however. When? I don't know. Probably before this video comes out. I don't know if I'll post him though. I don't really seem to post anything anymore that isn't made for a sewing video like this or easily uploadable on TikTok. I used to make a lot of edited images where I would have like the front and the back of the character and I'd have them in a pose and I'd have them unmasked and I'd edit all that together into a collage that I would then put on Instagram, and that used to be how I shared these guys before I did YouTube. But now, like, every time I do that, it feels like such a hassle, and, like, I just don't enjoy doing that anymore. And that's it for Iron Man. He's done. This took me 2 weeks, by the way. I spent 2 weeks doing this. For 4 minutes of video. I still like him. Despite the whole color thing, I still really like him. I think he turned out really well. Thor! Unfortunately for me, the footage of me actually making the body never saved. Whatever though, we're already at least 2 characters deep into this video. I'm sure you get the gist by now. Since Thor is a vanguard, I'd give him large back muscles. Nothing that hasn't been done before. However, like his sister, Thor has tattoos all over his body. Tattoos that I'm going to make, as seen on his swimsuit skin. And maybe you're thinking, why are you doing this? Isn't this kind of a waste of time? Yes, you'd be correct. It is. However, these are the things I like to do. The details are fun. However, what isn't fun is getting a headache from breathing in the Sharpie so much. Be safe if you're trying to copy what I'm doing, and ask your parents to help you if you're using paints and you're young. You don't want to have the bathroom incident like I did. which, saying it out loud makes it sound like something completely different. I also decided to use a brown marker to color on some muscle definition. With how all of it turned out in the end, I'm actually pretty disappointed that none of this will ever be seen. So, I guess it's a good thing that I'm making this video so everyone can see just how much detail I put into these. Can be like our little secret. You, me, and all the other, 30 people who will watch this. Making the head isn't very difficult either. Once again, I rely pretty heavily on Sharpies to do the detailing on it. And on top of that, the recording for it didn't save either. Does anybody else have that problem on iPhones? It can't just be me, right? I also usually don't ever see anybody I know using time lapses, but that's probably because none of my friends make content. For Thor's costume, kind of like the body, it will rely a lot on paint and Sharpie, but mostly paint. There still obviously will be detail without all that, but the paint is the most striking of the features on the suit. Of all the game's base designs, I really like Thor's. I love how bulky he looks in-game. I also like the multiple layers and usage of fur on his costume. I also think that while the game's design clearly takes heavily inspiration from the MCU and the 2099 comics, this Thor takes some of the best design elements from the movies and remixes them. A little less obvious than his siblings, for sure. I appreciate the wings as opposed to a full helmet. I like the full helmet, but I also like that this is different. Speaking of different things, typically Thor has a cape. Or at least I associate him with having a cape. For as ugly as the costume in Love and Thunder was, I was distracted a lot of the time by how pretty his cape was. It looked beautiful. I wonder how heavy it was. However, as much as I like capes, I really don't think a cape would work here. But that's not much of an issue because his other skins have capes. Like my favorite, the Lord of Asgard skin. If you regularly watch the channel, then you'll know that is the one that I used in my Thor Lord video. Frankly, I'd say Thor is just eating good with skins in this game. The Lord of Asgard, Fortnite skin, the Love and Thunder skins are usually really cool. And the Love and Thunder skin is really cool, despite what I just said about the movie. Plus his comic skin is great, unlike some other characters. Something else I really like on his costume is the little skirt thing he has going on. I don't know the exact terminology on those, but I think a lot of the time they look really cool. Like on knights. It kind of makes me wish Doctor Strange also had something like that in the game. But then again, he's got skins that do that. I don't think I own any of them. In the comics, he actually loses his arm. On Thor's arms, they also decide to give him these little armor sleeves that are very clearly pulled from the original Sin comic. In the comic, he actually loses his arm in a battle with Malekith. Yes, that Malekith from Thor the Dark World, the 2013 movie we all remember. I don't know if in the game's lore he lost his arms too, but I'm pretty sure he didn't, if I just had to take a wild guess. Because I painted the bottoms of his boots and his upper torso, I need to use pipe cleaners to hang him on my desk like a psychopath. He just had to sit there for 2 hours, and then I could take him down and wait another hour for the rest of it to dry. Had him by the neck. Couldn't even do the arms because I painted the shoulders. It's brutal. Brutal stuff. In the comics, he only lost his arm for 6 years. I think he gets it back when they did that Fortnite collab. Or at least around that time. That was in 2020, by the way. When Fortnite was in Chapter 2. 6 years ago. Remember that? That was 6 years ago. You're getting older. Remember that. You're gonna die one day. For the armor paneling on the upper torso, it's several layers. The most challenging part of this was making a cut that fit the body the way that I wanted it to. I don't exactly have a specific technique for this, just some trial and error, but mostly it's getting good and kind of just knowing what you're doing. In fact, I don't show it here, but for the big blue strap parts going down his chest, I actually just completely messed it up and cut the spacing of where I placed it. I ended up just cutting it off, scrapping it, and making a new one. I would show me making more mistakes, but I don't think this video really needs to be any longer. I also, at risk of sounding kind of arrogant, don't really tend to make a lot of mistakes when making these. I've been doing this for, I think, 11 years now. I'm 19. Been doing this since I think I was 8. So I have a lot of experience. This has been most of my life. I think the most egregious mistake that I can remember ever making in all that time was, funny enough, my Born Again Season 2 Daredevil. I've never had to just completely restart from scratch because I had failed so spectacularly. I almost had to do that again on my Absolute Superman, but luckily I saved that one. Not perfect, but better than the alternative, I suppose. After a while, it just kind of grows on you. I would say my only regret is that I wish I did the lines more similar to the comics, or just made the suit that he wears after the first arc with Lazarus. This isn't a Superman video though, this is Thor. I think one of the reasons I say I don't tend to make mistakes though is because I'm just very adaptable when it comes to making these. Again, like on my Absolute Superman. I can usually turn a blunder around. With that, Thor is finished. No, I'm lying, I'm gonna make the hammer. I mean, come on, how could I not? Typically I wouldn't, but I made Cap's shield, and I'd say Mjolnir is about as iconic to Thor as the shield is to Cap, so I'll bite the bullet and do it, even though it's much more complicated than the shield is. I gave the hammer a plastic skeleton that allows it to keep its shape and structure, as opposed to just stuffing it alone. It's also nice, because while being extremely lightweight, it does give the hammer a bit of weight, and allows you to hurt people. I say hurt people, but it's only really going to bother you if you have like glass bones and paper skin. Can you imagine having paper skin? That is no relevance to the video. Anyway, after attaching the handle to the hammer, I also had a strap. Luckily this strap is coming in clutch because I can cut it specifically to be the same size as Thor's wrist. Now I have a way for him to wield it without actually having to attach it to his body. Because it needs to dry, I had to paint the hammer twice. I decided to do the handle first. I hold it up while I dried it. To hold it up while it dried, I actually put a thread through the top of the hammer and essentially sewed it to my desk for 3 hours. Once it was dry, I could take it down and paint the actual hammer part of the hammer. For it to dry, all I had to do was put a piece of pipe cleaner through the strap and hang it off my desk. Thank goodness for the random pegs on the top of my desk. I think overall the hammer just took me 9 hours to make, with the painting included. So, appreciate it, please, I'm begging you. Now I can finally say that Thor is finished. I think he turned out really well. Like, maybe the best one in this video, kinda well. I'm really satisfied with him. I think he looks great. For the Hulk, I start off with his body cutout, obviously. I probably don't need to keep saying that. I think this is the biggest body I've made for a Rivals character so far. In-game, he's supposed to be 7'7", just 1 foot taller than Captain America, exactly. Honestly, I'm kinda just surprised I time-lapsed this part. I made him so long ago as opposed to when I'm editing, so I forgot I even did this. I actually ended up finding a dead bug in my stuffing while I was making him. Just thought I'd show that off. Hate it when that happens. I just figured that since it was so big, I'd skip it. Kinda like Groot. However, skipping Groot really backfired on me, so I guess this isn't so bad. When it comes to making his head, the simplicity of it just continues because I don't actually need to give him button eyes, which allows me to have a lot more control over the eye placement and how it turns out in the finished head. With Hulk's giant jaw, I also get to have fun with the head shape. Something I can say pretty confidently about this guy is that he's 100% the easiest character that I will have to make in this video, which I think is obvious to anyone with eyes. In fact, he may also just be one of the most fun because I get to do a lot of marker detailing on him. I rely on it more than typical. I just generally get to enjoy making him. To finish the detail on the head, I can color on a fade with a Sharpie, similar to the trick balding people will use to pretend they're still human. With that, I can start working on the dreaded muscles. A large quantity of Hulk's detail is his muscle mass. I think despite that, I still don't think this is as much as I've done on my Venom. Either of my Venoms, really. My feelings on making muscles haven't changed though. I still hate it. I mentioned that it puts a lot of pressure on my needle to do so, possibly breaking it, but besides that, it even just hurts my fingers to do. On a positive side, I do kind of enjoy how much green I'm using here. I don't tend to get to do a lot of green stuff. I also just really like the shade of green that I'm using here. It's not that weird olive green the MCU uses, but it's also not a dark forest green. It's a nice vibrant green, and I had just barely enough to make all of them. This guy is massive. Is it weird that instead of Hulk being just Hulk in my mind, he always reminds me of Terrence from Angry Birds Space? I remember loving that he was green in that game when I was younger. That's mostly because green was my favorite color. I remember when I was younger, like 7 or 8, I used to take a Sharpie to my Angry Birds plushies and try to make them look like superheroes. Or I put a Build-A-Bear mask on them and pretend one of them is Spider-Man. I suppose not much has changed in 11 years. Man, if he could see me now, he'd probably say something like, "You're 19 and make toys on the internet? Why don't you get a job, bum?" To which I'd hit him. Really hard. It's at this point that I can color on the shading with green Sharpie. I think I may have gone a little crazy with it because it ended up dyeing my fingers for about a week. I couldn't even have him near other characters for a while, or else the Sharpie would just bleed off onto them or just other stuff. I think he bled it onto my Human Torch, but it was the back, so who cares. Now that I've spent at least 3 minutes making the body, I can make the costume! Costume in air quotes, because it's just pants and a belt. The pants aren't even purple. It doesn't really bother me though, to be honest. Like, I know purple pants are kind of his thing, but they never seem to want to give him purple pants outside of the comics anymore. So, I'm just used to it. I do like the belt. I think it's neat. Something I kind of wish they did is I think it would have been cool if you see his gun and the grenades on the belt itself when he's in Hulk form, instead of him just pulling it out of his ass when he transforms. At least I assume that's where he gets it. I wonder what would happen if Bruce decided to hide something up there and then transform. Would Hulk instinctively crap it out, or would he just crush it with his gamma-infused green colon? Maybe to the game's credit, I guess they give him a purple shirt. A purple shirt that rips off then is magically reformed when he's beaten out of Hulk mode. Unless you're actually the real Hulk and thus just never die, then I guess that doesn't matter. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lore reason for his shirt regenerating. Like it's some tech Bruce made or something. Maybe he's wearing whatever Miguel's suit is made of in Across the Spider-Verse. Speaking of Miguel, if it isn't already, they could add a Hulk 2099 skin. Honestly, I'd prefer if they didn't. It's kind of an eyesore. I'm recording this in Season 7 of the game, so if they haven't added a Fear Itself skin by the time this video comes out, or just any Hulk skin, I'll be kind of surprised. I'll be so for real right now though, let's be honest here. Hulk as a character just does not have that many interesting looking skins that you could bring to the game. Like I see suggestions that people have and they're like, "Oh, the 2008 movie." Are we serious? That would suck. Anyway, Hulk is done. I really like him. The marker detail really does go a long way for this one. Here's him with Rocket as a fun size comparison. Yes, this is it. Black Widow, the glorified throw pick of the game. I think it's a real shame she has that title. I like Black Widow. I don't really play her much. I have her at captain at the time of writing this. I also don't think it helps all that tournament drama happened either. I have the take on the game that there are no bad characters. There are characters that are weaker than others, but in the right hands, any character could run a lobby. However, in saying that, I recognize that Widow is kinda bad. A good one could still run a lobby, but it would be really difficult. Unless you're just in a game with 11 bots. I guess it would be kinda hard for a Widow to run a lobby if she was getting dived by 6 tanks. I don't know if she's really out damaging that, no matter how good she is. I do feel bad for people who play Widow though. The amount of games I'll join and see someone pick Widow just to get bullied. Like, not the people who are actually good at her either. Like, people who just are alright, or she's like their favorite character, or they just want to play her. They get around the same KD as everyone else on the team. Maybe they're a Centurion, get an MVP every once in a while. Their best game is like 37-4 or something. Lose a game and everyone starts yelling at them even though the Punisher went 3-9. I guess while I'm here with Widow, I'll mention some opinions I have on that Kingsman controversy from forever ago. Well, less on the situation and more on the community's reaction to it since I don't care about the situation pretty much at all. Now, I'm no stranger complaining about the community on this channel. But for this, it's just so many Rivals players being so corny. Like, I keep seeing people calling people bad in the game Zaza still to this day. Or still making for the vibes jokes. And maybe it's just me being a joyless chud, but when the controversy happened, it was kind of the only thing that had happened in the community. So, it's the only thing I ever heard about. For a while. That is to say, I think it would be really funny if by the time this video releases, I made a Lord Widow video. I recently listened to Black Widow by Cage the Elephant and felt inspired for my Lord videos. I think for my Lord videos, that would be one of the possibly worst bands to pull a song from. Mainly because every time I try to use their music, I get region blocked. Only in Russia, though. Which isn't a problem, because in my channel's history, I've had a flat 0% viewers from there. Remind me to never step foot in Russia. They clearly hate me. 2% of my audience is from the Philippines, though. So, sending love to all my Filipino viewers. I think in the future I'm gonna make this a Filipino dedicated channel where I speak only Tagalog and make videos on Arnis. Speaking of stick fighting, what's even the point of Widow's batons in the game? They're used as more of an accessory than useful weapons. If they can make Angela swapping between 2 different combat modes, then we can have Widow do anything useful. To be fair, if you look at MCU Widow, she doesn't seem to use them that often either. Maybe once every couple action scenes. From what I remember from the 2020 Avengers game, she mostly uses guns. I also didn't play that game, so feel free to correct me. I've seen several different videos, posts, or even people coming into my house or breaking through my windows telling me about her kit. You know, like ways to change it, different ideas. A lot of them usually suggest a full rework, getting rid of the sniper entirely, substituting it for dual pistols, and making her batons more useful. Which, I'm not that huge on it. Like, I do think that the dual pistols would fit in line with her character more, but I think that takes away from the uniqueness and the point of her, which is to be a sniper. Like, if she's wielding 2 guns, why play her when you could just play someone better, like Star-Lord or Deadpool? I mean, basically be turning her into a worse Deadpool if she could alternate effectively between both modes. They kinda gotta lean into the sniper angle, or even better, give her Widow's bites. Widow bites? I don't remember. Giving her 2 stuns would be annoying though, so you'd have to find a good way to integrate that. Maybe, and I think this is the best option, just combine all 3. Give Widow a sniper, dual pistols, and the batons. I don't think it would be super overpowered, and even if she is, she kinda deserves it. Across the game's lifetime, she's constantly been ridiculed for being useless. Let her be good. My hope is that by the time that this is uploaded, it's a little irrelevant, because I'm working on this in Season 7.5, recording on April 26th. So, if she is still bad when this video comes out, like months later, then like, you know, what are we doing? They're gonna just chain her to team-ups. That's all she's gonna get. And maybe they'll increase her fire rate, I don't know. Anyway, Black Widow. She's done, I finished her. I didn't give her batons because I'm a lazy good-for-nothing bum, but other than that, I actually really like her. I think she turned out pretty well. For Hawkeye's body, I go with a tone that I've only used on very few characters. He's more tan, so I figured that this would work well. I've only used it on Homelander, Thor, Squirrel Girl, who I've already made by now, and I'll use it next on Strange. I had originally bought the material for Homelander back in June of 2024, which is pretty crazy because I'd made a lot of other characters from the show before him. I don't know why. Guess I just had more interest in that. As for Hawkeye, he's the last Avenger I made for this video, and the 3rd last character I made from the base game, only beating out Loki and Hela, in reverse order. Looking at it now, I could only edit the Hawkeye section down to 10 minutes. Not happy I have to find 10 minutes worth of stuff to talk about. It was actually originally 12 minutes before I went through and cut down the time lapses. Honestly, 10 minutes is a lot better than 12. 2 minutes actually makes a huge difference in these. A sentiment that I would often preach to my first girlfriend. To no avail. The full raw footage is 50 minutes. One of my longest ever. But only one of. You know, I don't even really have a lot of opinions on Hawkeye in the game. I thought his one shot was a real pain in the neck. I think that was Season 6 when a lot of people were playing him. Or maybe it was Season 5, I don't remember. I don't really have a problem with it now, mostly because just a lot of people don't really play him anymore. I don't know why. I don't remember if he got nerfed or just something else happened or a better character came along, but I don't know, I guess people just put him down. Or even every time I see people in games, like, playing him now, they're a Lord Hawkeye and they got all of this stuff and they're, like, 8 and 5. Guess he's just not meta anymore. I am in Season 7.5 right now, and this is being written and edited, so I don't know how things may have changed, but I do plan on getting this out in Season 9.5 in August, which is a little crazy considering all that I have to do is edit, like, 3 characters. But it's more so I just have a full schedule till then. other sewing videos, Lego Batman, Rivals videos, because I do videos on seasonal updates. It's just a lot. It's at this point in the script, I got kind of bored trying to think of things to write for it. However, it's May, which means this is around the time that I made my Supergirl video, so instead of feeling burnt out trying to figure out what to say here, I decided to go do that. I'm talking make her, recording her, editing it, writing it, and uploading it. I did all that in the time between what I'm saying now and the last subject I just talked about. So I guess in a way, while I find longer character videos frustrating and harder to edit like Hawkeye, it being 10 minutes isn't so bad. At least 10 minutes feels like a satisfying amount of time for one of these. 3 days for 5 minutes in a video. 3 days of actually sewing and like editing and all that, and like 2 weeks in total for 5 minutes of a video and 2 TikToks is a little underwhelming. I say this about Supergirl, but I know damn well Black Widow is exactly that. Only difference is she took a month and a half to make and edit, since I'm slower with Rivals stuff. Not because it's hard or anything, I just think I'm just more excited for those videos. At least it's giving me something to ramble this long about. Obviously that isn't to say I don't enjoy doing these videos at all. I definitely like doing Rivals stuff, and it feels very rewarding to finish a huge video like this and upload it, whether it gets 20 views or 800. When it comes to painting this part of Hawkeye, I painted the purple lining with white because I mentioned in my cap portion of the video that they just don't make purple puff paint. Not any that I found. So my plan is that when it dries, I'll go back and I'll paint it purple with a different paint that I have. Until then, I detail the upper chest area. For a purple themed color scheme superhero, they really hate the idea of giving us any purple on his costume. Like the MCU, the Ultimate Universe, the Avengers game, this game. Like, I think it works here, but it's just so scarce. Like, this is one of the characters that they took a much bigger swing on in this game to make him appear cooler. Don't get me wrong, I definitely like his design. He looks super cool. By no means am I complaining. He does have other skins too. The Freefall skin, that one's pretty cool. Same with the Galactic Fang skin. I would say Hawkeye usually has a pretty satisfying amount of purple on him in this game. Maybe one day down the road we'll finally get that elusive first appearance skin. Wouldn't that be a treat? Assuming you have eyes that work and can see, then you can probably tell that I kind of messed up really bad with the paint. So I go back over it with a purple Sharpie, and it looks way better with the Sharpie. Like, thank God I didn't settle for the paint, because usually I would. Thank God I left it on the cutting room floor there. It's definitely a lot more vibrant with the Sharpie. Unfortunately with the Sharpie though, if I ever chose to wash him, it would fade off immediately. And I would have to reapply it every time. And it might just fade off with time, but for now it's pretty satisfying. I've mentioned this before when it comes to making characters from this game, and it's just a general thing that I have with the characters' base designs in this. Especially in like the base version of the game with like the 30-something heroes. Not like how the game is now with, I think, 18 new heroes, 20 new heroes. Like, there are so many little bits I have to add and spaces to paint that I want to keep in mind that it just starts to feel like it'll never end. It doesn't help that at this point in the process, I've been making Hawkeye for about a month now. On and off, of course, it wouldn't take me a month of straight dedicated work to make a singular character. I do think that's one of the reasons that the character specifically just took me that long to finally get around to the point where he's like one of the last ones in the roster. His design is definitely one of the more complex of the characters in this game. In making any character, they have the most exciting areas of their costume, the parts that draw your eyes. Then they'll have all the parts in between that keep the design together. That endless detail is what I call it. Things like his face mask, his chest plate, his scarf, and his wrist guards are the more visually exciting areas that I'd like to work on. But making bases and all that stuff in between with all the straps or the layers and all that stuff is where most of the work lies. Or maybe it just gets that way because I'm more excited to do the parts that I was talking about. That is to say that right now I'm liking how he's coming along. He's starting to look really good. I also really like his body proportions. I think the waist looks pretty good compared to the one in-game. You know, I wonder when or if we'll ever get an MCU skin for Hawkeye. To be fair, it's not like he ever really had a costume. Like, yeah, he has, but most of them suck. Like, I'd say the only MCU skins I'd want to see would be the Ronin suit, which we already have a version of in-game, or the Age of Ultron suit, which is just a cooler version of the Avengers suit. which is a tragic byproduct of the X-Men movie era of, oh, colors aren't cool, despite being in the same movie as that Captain America costume. In fact, it doesn't even stop at that Captain America costume. Like, seriously, they made everybody look pretty much perfect in that first Avengers movie, but apparently a good Hawkeye suit was just too far. Does Jeremy Renner have a I hate fun clause in his contract that doesn't allow him to have a worthwhile costume? It's not like you can't look cool in a comic-accurate suit. The Batman, bad example, he's black and dark gray. Deadpool, either of the suits. Wolverine, cool costume, a little too tactical for Wolverine. A character whose whole gimmick is getting brutally maimed and healing from it shouldn't need a complex costume with body armor. Imagine making a new one every day. Point is, you could do a totally cool purple and blue Hawkeye costume. I can absolutely see it as Jeremy Renner just thought he was too cool for it. In my opinion, he doesn't even need the wings. He can wear sunglasses if he wants, maybe even a hood or a domino mat. Okay, I see where this is going. But like, seriously, they treat it like this big hurrah in the Hawkeye series when he like puts on his costume that was made for him by the LARPers and shirt and pants. Can buy that at Hot Topic, and that's his costume. Oh, well, I think he has gloves too. He's literally mogged by Kate the whole series, and her costume is the same thing, but at least she's purple. I think I'm making this sound like a bigger deal than I really think it is. Honestly, it's Hawkeye. Like, I'm not gonna lie, man, he has the same reputation to me as Aquaman did to the Justice League in the 2010s, before, like, Jason Momoa came in and people were like, oh, he's kinda cool, by, like, changing everything about him. Maybe Hawkeye will get that treatment someday. I don't know. It's not like he's not cool in the MCU, it's just like, he's like whatever. Like, he would be the coolest guy in the room if the same dudes in the room weren't also Thor and the Hulk. You know, like, he'd be the coolest guy in a room of normal people. Unless Black Widow's also in there. Well, then I guess she'd be the coolest woman. But she would be cooler than him on, like, a human scale. So, look at me go! I'm making the bow. I don't even need to keep saying that I don't typically make weapons, but this is another one that's too iconic to the character to be without. Like, Widow could probably go without her sniper, since I don't think she's super synonymous with a sniper rifle, at least to a general public. Her batons are more important to her, and I couldn't even be bothered to do that, so that goes to show the level of operating that I'm at. Making the bow is a fairly easy process, though. Why not do it? Looking back on the footage, I really wish I'd cut my nails before making him. I'm mentioning it now at the end, because if I had earlier, then you would have noticed, and I would have ruined the video. Anyway, Hawkeye is finished. I'm actually super satisfied with him. He turned out really well. Even his bow looks pretty good. Now, when it comes to my nails, don't even try to check if they're cut or not. Unlike my foreskin, my nails will be cut by the next character. By the time I make the next character, the next character isn't going to cut my nails. Or my foreskin. Similar to Magneto, Doctor Strange is one of the smaller tanks, standing at a mere 6'6", almost NBA height. And instead of heroically using his biological gifts to play basketball, he just does surgeries and saves lives instead. What a pussy. Funny enough, for being one of the longest running best tanks in the game, I really never played him. I don't really play tank, but of any tank, he is one I just never picked up. I guess I was just too busy with Penny, and Thor, and Devil Dinosaur, and Angela, and every other tank under the sun. I don't know. When it comes to the body of Strange, I'm not super happy with it. I'm not unhappy with it either. I just don't like the big gap between his legs. I made it way too big. Luckily, he has baggy pants to hide it. Pants I don't make nearly baggy enough anyway. For the most part, his costume is pretty straightforward in its detail. Personally, I'm not huge on this Doctor Strange design. Like, I don't think it's bad or anything, but it's just mid, in my opinion. I don't really care much for how gray the costume is, which is ironic because my favorite Strange skin and the one that I frequently use in the game is Sorcerer Supreme of the Galaxy. I don't know why, it's just so tough. But the main game one is like a grayish brown. I do think that the reason the suit is so mid is because the cloak is so large that like you are clearly supposed to be paying attention to that. And that is the like centerpiece, most important part of the costume. So they want you to focus on it more, which I do definitely like the cloak. I love how over-exaggerated it is. It's super cool. I do kind of wish they'd give us a Multiverse of Madness skin. Not the zombie one, but the main one, obviously. Maybe if Strange is in Doomsday, he'll get like whatever he wears in that. I really like the costume he has in Multiverse of Madness though. It's a slight change from the one he wears in every other MCU installment, which, mentioning that, is just like, can we appreciate for a second that if you ignore the yellow gloves in Ragnarok, that Strange pretty much wears the same costume throughout 5 straight appearances? An unheard of amount for anyone in the MCU who's a superhero. Happy in his black suit doesn't count. I mean, come on. Kinda gotta hand it to him. To be fair, the costume he had was also very good. Honestly, the only thing I'd change on the Multiverse of Madness suit, if I had to, was changing those strips on the front of his chest to white over blue, and throw some gold accents across the suit. Maybe give him cool yellow gloves, and boom! He's set for Secret Wars. Or Doomsday, if he appears in that. It's the end of May right now, so if that gets announced between now and when this is uploaded, then I look like a sucker. I really need to learn to stop talking about things currently going on and giving my opinions in those videos that I plan on posting like months after the fact. It's like I'm setting myself up to fail. Or some guy to come into my comments and be like, actually that didn't happen, or you're gonna be so happy like 6 months later. Yeah, obviously I know about it now. Look when the video is posted. That's why I say when I am recording constantly, to constantly remind whoever is gonna say that, like, oh, okay, he doesn't know that happened yet. Like, I still get responses on my comments I left about wanting Daredevil in the game, even though I commented that 5 months before he even came to the game. People have nothing better to do. It's like making jokes about people's names. Typically I try not to, because you gotta think, it's their name, and you are not original. They've probably been hearing the same 3 jokes about their name, like, their whole life. At that point, it isn't even funny. It's just tiresome, because you've heard it so many times. If it's a little kid, then it's, like, kind of whatever. But making it onto, like, a full-grown adult, or even a teenager, just pack it up. You're not funny. Delete all your social medias and move to Kazakhstan. Now, getting into the cloak, when I was editing this, I was thinking to myself, wait, was Strange that easy? I'm only 3 minutes in so far. But no, it wasn't that simple. Most of the rest of this is just a time-lapse of me painting the 2 sides of the cape. At least this time my time-lapse is saved. Or, at least the ones that were important. That would be kind of cheap of me if I was like, here's the cloak, I did the whole thing off camera. It would kind of be like in those old Minecraft Let's Plays from like 2011, 2012, where in between the first and second video, they'd suddenly stumble onto a diamond with a Saudi prince's entire fortune inscribed on it, apparently. You know, when you think about it, my Rivals plush doll collection I've been making actually does have the exact same value as the Saudi prince's fortune, because, you know, there's only one of them in the world. Nobody else has this. I could sell it for $1 million. It's a one of one. I don't think $1 million is all that a Saudi prince has. But who's counting? Me. Me, I'm jealous. Me, I want it. And the paint is made with real gold. I'm definitely not lying or using hyperbole because, you know, lying is bad. I've never lied a day in my life. Except for all those times I chose to obscure the truth, which isn't lying, it's just telling an alternate truth. So I'm actually a super truther when you think about it. Anyway, with that, I can attach the last piece and finish Doctor Strange. Do you like him? Is he your main? I feel like there's a lot of Strange mains out there. I like him. I'm actually pretty satisfied with how he turned out. Anyway, on to the next character. For Scarlet Witch, her body is the same cutout that you're used to for pretty much all the women in this game. I honestly probably don't even need to do the time-lapse, but like I think I mentioned before, you can never go wrong with a good old time-lapse. Now, when it comes to Scarlet Witch in-game and how she plays, I think a lot of people are way too harsh on her. She's fine. She's actually kind of bad. Don't get me wrong, I started out Marvel Rivals as a Spider-Man main, and I thought this woman was the devil. But as I've played other characters, and even just played her, I've come to realize she's really whatever. Like, she's super easy to play around. Like, the most annoying thing she can do is fly away. Even her ult sucks. Like, you could get a lot of value out of it if you were successfully able to pair it with, like, a Strange Portal or any CC ult. But besides that, you're pretty much useless outside of a bot lobby. It's super easily counterable, especially if the team focuses it, or if she just gets Spider-Man pulled, Penny-webbed, or some other CC. Even Invisible Woman's push is super effective against it. You know, like, I would like to play Scarlet Witch more, because I like the character of her, but I can't really get past more than 1 or 2 games on her, because she is just so boring to play. However, I would make the claim that she is harder to play than Squirrel Girl. Now, before you disagree with me or tell me that I'm stupid, Squirrel Girl can bring value to a team even without leaving spawn. Her ult does a lot of damage and is exceptionally annoying. Her acorns can bounce off surfaces and do big explosive damage, often accidentally scoring kills with no damage fall off, while doing like 110 damage, I think. At least while I'm currently recording this, which is in Season 8. As where Scarlet Witch deals damage proportional to the character's health and distance from her. Plus, despite not needing to aim her beam, most of her damage comes in landing shots with her daggers. I'm not claiming that she's difficult by no means, I'm just saying she's harder than Squirrel Girl. And I do see a lot of people call for a complete rework of her kit, which I think is kind of fair. Like, a lot of people say, she's one of the most powerful characters in Marvel, and here she's reduced to a beam? Which I think is a pretty valid criticism. To be fair, I think you're stupid if you try to power scale characters in this game. Like, Spider-Man's not going to swiftly take out Adam Warlock as a free pick in the mainline continuity. He would get flattened. But I can understand being a fan of Scarlet Witch and wanting more for her. I know in the concept art for her character, they had her lifting pieces of rubble out of the ground and making shields or tossing it, which would have been neat. Honestly, if anyone should get a move where they rip rubble out of the ground and throw it, it should be Hulk. I honestly haven't ever given much thought to Scarlet Witch, so I don't have a lot of ideas on how you could make her like a worthwhile character to play. I do wonder what would happen if they like changed her to a 4-star hero after a rework and actually like gave her a bunch of different moves and made her difficult. All those champion Scarlet Witches who exclusively play Scarlet Witch, Squirrel Girl, Cloak and Dagger, Rocket, and no tanks. Then go on TikTok and post 4 videos about how Spider-Man players are all skillless and evil, and the same thing about Daredevil and really any melee DPS who dives. They probably wouldn't know what to do with themselves if they lost that. Because, I mean, I guess you can't really dog on people who play like that. You absolutely can. I think making fun of a player like that is coming with the expectation that they're playing for like 700 hours, which maybe they aren't. Like, if you're some dude who gets on and you only play Punisher and you play maybe like 3 hours a week because you have work or a life and only do it for fun, then whatever. Like, people have such a high expectation of performance in this game. I can get it if you're queuing into comp. Like, if you're queuing into comp and you're getting on Scarlet Witch in, like, even a Grandmaster lobby, and it's not to directly counter someone who's running your team, genuinely, what are you doing? But, like, in quick play, people have comp expectations in quick play. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, you lose a few matches here and there, whatever. It's quick play. Even losing matches you can only benefit from because you were gaining proficiency on your character. Like, relax. Someone wants to play her in quick play, have at it. I mean, if you're a champion Scarlet Witch and you're running her, it's like, find a different character, you know? Like, I can get it, you like playing her. I don't get how you like playing her, but I can get if you want to play your character. But, like, holy moly, find a different character, because she is not all there is. There's like over 50 characters in this game. You can find a different one that you will find fun. And I don't want to see anyone come in my comments and go, "Oh, I play Scarlet Witch, and I'm actually really good at her, and I'm in Celestial 40 billion, and I have all these stats, and I'm so great." Because I'm going to be honest, man, if you climb to like Celestial on Scarlet Witch, 1, I don't know how, 2, like, you must have just been, like, queuing, never getting off. Just play until you make it. Because I guarantee, if you're on, like, Champion Scarlet Witch, and you're running in, like, Celestial comps, dude, you're throwing a lot of games. Especially if you refuse to swap off. If you're running Scarlet Witch, and you run her at, like, the beginning of the game, you realize this isn't working, and you swap to somebody useful, so not Squirrel Girl, most of the time. Like, Squirrel Girl is not completely useless. I think Squirrel Girl is pretty much only good for doing heavy amounts of damage in hallways. Like on the Hall of Dajalia map, she's great on that first push. Other than that, like, I don't know what Squirrel Girl is really that useful for. But I guarantee you in Celestial Scarlet Witch, there's no way you got there on just Scarlet. I don't want to see anyone in my comments being like, I'm the exception. That is so annoying. Anyway, that's it for Scarlet Witch. I actually did this whole voiceover in one go, which is a first for me. I had so much to ramble about for her, apparently. Also, I really like how she turned out here. I think she turned out great. Look how nice she looks. This is probably one of the better ones in this video, to be honest. You want to know something crazy? I cut this body out in July of 2025 because in the game, Black Panther is a perfect 6 feet tall. I used him as a reference a lot. I ended up using his body to cut out Iron Fist, Blade, Iron Man, Mr. Fantastic, Human Torch, Adam Warlock, Daredevil, Hawkeye, and some others that I'm forgetting right now. Point is that this guy is the base of most of my Rivals stuff, so it's kind of a big deal right now that I'm finally sewing him. That means after I make him, I'm kind of just on my own from now on. Well, I say that, but before making him, I used my Dagger, Panther, and Thor cutouts to trace and make paper templates, so I can keep remaking these guys. I ended up replacing the Black Panther torso template with one that had a little higher shoulders. I don't know what I was thinking with his traps. For Black Panther, I guess it's fine because his body is a little weird and disproportionate, but I was constantly having to modify the cut for other characters. To be honest, good traps are just difficult to do. I tend to do a pretty weak job. I've debated sewing them on separately like I did for Thing or Venom, but that's simply too much effort. I think I'll just let them look awkward forever. For Black Panther's design in the game, I'd say it's good. Like, it's pretty hard to mess up Black Panther's costume as long as you have black and there's a Panther feature on it. Like, I'd say it's pretty hard to mess up a Black Panther costume. As long as it's black and has Panther features on the mask, everything else is pretty optional. Want gold accents? Go for it. Silver? Equally as viable. Purple? I haven't seen anyone make the jewelry purple, but that'd be cool too. You know, I haven't seen anyone go for a tail yet. Probably for good reason. Personally, I'd like to see him in a cape more. I don't think we ever would have gotten that in the MCU, but I wish we did. Like, he could have went to press meetings wearing the cape. I think that'd be really cool. Like that scene at the end of Black Panther when he opens Wakanda up to the world. If he was in the Black Panther suit and he had his helmet off and he had a big, like, cape. Like a big Dracula cape almost. That'd be so cool. I know there's a skin in game that gives him a cape, but let's be for real. That cape is lame. I'm glad he has a cape, but it's so tiny. It's like Supergirl's cape in Justice League Unlimited, but only half as suggestive. When it comes to Black Panther, did you know that making him is what got me to buy the black material I use for all my Rival stuff now? Like the quote-unquote black that isn't really fully black, so I can put actual black stuff on top of it, since this game doesn't really have any actual, like, just black on costumes. It's very rare you see someone's costume be all black in this game. It's very rare you see someone who's black, period. I don't know at the time of recording who the season 9 or 10 heroes are, but I hope they add more black characters. There's like 4 playable black heroes in the game, and one of them is half a white woman. I think it's a shame that every time I see a post bringing it up, the comments are just flooded with, "It's not that deep, you're making an issue out of nothing," or some other dismissal of the whole thing, or acting like the person making the video is in the wrong or the crazy person. Because I feel like people don't realize that it does matter. It actually is that deep, believe it or not. Over 50 characters, and nearly all of them are white, when there's plenty of black characters from Marvel that you could add. Luke Cage, War Machine, Misty Knight, Blue Marvel, Dr. Voodoo, Falcon, Bishop, Spectrum, Patriot, Tombstone, Ironheart. Honestly, it doesn't even end at just black characters. Add characters of all races. Like we have Penny, White Fox, and Luna. Namor, who was originally a white dude. Let's get Robbie Ray as Ghost Rider in here. White Tiger, America Chavez, Sunspot, Spider-Man 2099. He's got different enough powers. Shang-Chi, Jubilee, Miss Marvel. And I don't want to see anyone complaining, "Stop giving us randoms," or "Give us what we really want," because we already have a selection of some of the most popular heroes in the world. Spider-Man, Hulk, Wolverine, Captain America, Iron Man, Deadpool, Daredevil. They can afford to add anyone they want now. And people will say, "Oh, how do you make War Machine work? Oh, how do you make Ironheart work?" There's 3 roles, right? War Machine should be a shield tank, honestly. Make him big, give him a big shield, and give him that, like, baton thing, the electric baton that he has. Or I guess you could add Hercules and have him do that, but then he's not a black dude. So, you could make Hercules a black dude. Ironheart, she could be a support. I think that would be fine. I mean, Heart is in her name, right? She could work as a support for sure. And I don't want to see anyone be like, oh, nobody likes Ironheart. Oh, we don't want Ironheart. Because none of you guys even watched Ironheart. I guarantee it. That show was not bad. That character is not bad. Show her comics. Not a bad character. Throw her in the game. Make her a support. You could make her a DPS. It would be a little redundant of Iron Man. But you could do it. It would be awesome. I'd like to see it. I don't know what you would do for her as a support. But like, I'm sure they could figure something out. They seem pretty creative over there. I'm like imagining Ultron drones and Rocket's beacon of like his revive beacon, but that would be redundant of both of them. So I don't know. I mean, they're fully capable of redundancies like Phoenix and Hela. Anyway, that's it for Black Panther. I think he's good. I actually like him more looking at him now while editing this than I did like months ago when I made him. Overall, I'm satisfied. Anyway, that's it. The Avengers from Marvel Rivals. Well, kinda. I don't know if you knew this, but Bucky and Blade are both technically on the Avengers in canon in the game. I myself did not know that, so if you want to, you can go watch my other videos where I do make them. As for this one, I think I did enough. I don't have to tread on old ground. Recently, when I checked the wiki to see if they'd change anything, it said that Namor was also on the Avengers. I haven't been keeping up with the game's lore, so I don't know why he's on the Avengers, but I wouldn't chalk this up to a mistake. It would be really easy to drag and drop him into this video. I won't do that. Not because I'm above it, but because I didn't add Bucky and Blade. This video took me about 9 months to finally make all the characters and 3 months to edit, so this video is a year in the making, and you just finished it. I'm glad you stuck around this long to see my final product. I'd like to mention here at the end of the video that there is no official pattern for anything made in the video. Everything you see here was made completely free-handed with the exception of the body, of which is cut out using a basic body template that is modified in the cutting process. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching. Videos like these take a lot of time and effort to put together, so I really appreciate you watching till the end. Thank you and have a nice day.